guys, welcome back to the MCU HQ and welcome to my spoiler review of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. This will be full spoilers, diving into all aspects of the movie, what I liked, what I didn't like, the ending, the post-credit scenes, in great detail. So if you have not seen the movie, do yourself a favor, go watch my regular review of this, right? Don't talk about spoilers. Go see the movie and then come back and enjoy the spoiler review. You have been warned. As usual, I'm not going to touch on everything in the movie, although I think I have more to talk about in this spoiler review than I have in most other ones, because there's a lot of aspects of the movie where I was like, in my review, I was like, I have to try as hard as I can to not spoil stuff, because there is so much to spoil in this movie for, well, both this movie and stuff coming after it, like Kang Dynasty and Loki Season 2. We'll touch on all that later. But starting off, I gotta talk about Kang. It's the place to start with this movie, because this is very much just a Kang the Conqueror movie. He's the star of this movie. I'm surprised he doesn't have top billing. So I said I liked Kang, but I didn't love him. I didn't think he was perfect. I still stand by that. I have had more time to digest the movie, which is why the spoiler review comes out later than the regular review, so I have more time to digest it and process it before I talk full spoilers. So I have changed my tune on Kang a little bit. I do still hold the opinion he is the best part of the movie and he's not perfect, but I think some of the things I criticized him for in the non-spoiler review, I've turned around on a bit in this review. So really, I gotta talk about his downfall and how he's defeated, because this has stuff in it that I both really have kind of come to enjoy, and it also has a lot of incredibly stupid stuff. Also, my voice kind of hurts because I actually just recorded a podcast episode about this very movie. So I'm going from doing a podcast about that, a very long one, to this. So I've been talking a lot about Ant-Man. So in the third act, it's really badass because he realizes they are decimating Chronopolis. They never call it Chronopolis in the movie. Just call it Chronopolis. It's a dope name. But they call it Kang Citadel. I'm calling it Chronopolis, okay? So the rebellion is attacking Chronopolis, and Kang finally joins the fight. And, you know, he leaves Janet, he leaves Cassie. He's like, y'all can do your thing. I'm gonna go do this. And Kang in the battlefield is awesome. I mean, he is gunning people down with his lasers. No one stands a chance. He almost kills Janora. I was actually worried she would die. I didn't love that character. She didn't have a lot to do, but I liked her throughout the movie. Like, I really did not want her to die. She does not. Flashlight Head dies, the dude with the laser. Veb does not, but he's decimating like the entire force that's close to his citadel. He takes out Ant-Man and Wasp, and he has this awesome speech about how, you know, he's a warrior. He's done this before. He's killed gods. He's killed Avengers. He's killed Thor. All Scott does is control ants, and he has this awesome line where he just yells, "I am Kang." It's awesome.
Think you can beat me? I am Kang!
And then Hank Pym comes in. What happens is these ants have been in the quantum realm. I think they said 1,000 years in the quantum realm. Like, they went through a time vortex. So basically, the ants have been down here 1,000 years despite falling into the quantum realm at the same time, because time works weird in the quantum realm. And they've been building effectively an empire. So the Ant Empire is the second biggest empire in the quantum realm, just short of Kang's. And so what happens is when you have a battle going on and you've got Kang preoccupied by having to deal with Ant-Man and these rebels and Cassie, who she didn't get her name in this. I'm actually okay with that. And, you know, all these different things happening. A surprise attack from the second largest empire in the quantum realm kind of makes sense. This is something I criticized in my initial review, but now that I've kind of thought more about it, I've kind of changed my tune on this. Just the circumstances in which ants are able to stop Kang makes sense to me. It does. And it actually, I don't know if this was intentional or not, it's actually kind of adapting my favorite Kang story. So Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the Kang arc is superb. Go watch that if you want some top-tier Kang, some top-tier Avengers. There's actually an episode called The Kang Dynasty. In that, basically, Kang and the Avengers are in a timeline. I have not watched it in a long time, so I might be getting some of the details wrong, but they're in a timeline. Basically, Kang has won. The Earth is destroyed, but he overlooked one small detail, and that's that cockroaches can survive the fallout of the apocalypse, and Hank Pym adjusts his communicators to be able to talk to cockroaches, and it's what brings on Kang's downfall. So the fact that they adapted that, I think, is cool, just with ants instead of cockroaches, and Hank Pym gets to come in with the last minute save and do that, and really show, like, God, thank God Hank Pym's on our side, or the entire universe would be at risk. So and then of course MODOK comes in and kind of helps, because Kang was actually winning against the ants. Now this is something I guess I didn't pay enough attention to it. Kang is winning against the ants. Like, he's blowing them backwards, and it's MODOK that is kind of the push that caused him to lower his shield, because MODOK effectively kamikazes himself into Kang and ends up dying. We'll talk about MODOK. And that's how the ants get Kang. So I think the scenario for Kang, for the final fight with Kang and his downfall, I think the scenario of it and the context behind it is great. Where my issue with this comes in is in the very final fight at the 1v1 with Ant-Man. I feel like they sacrificed a lot of Kang's intelligence for the sake of having a one-on-one fight, and I feel like they kind of forgot that he's supposed to be a badass. So yes, his technology is destroyed. Yes, he is obviously going to be weaker, but he should not be staggered by Ant-Man. Yes, he's kicking Scott's ass, but Scott's getting some really good licks in. I mean, did you see Kang's arm? Like, this dude, it's safe to say, had a fist fight with Thor Odinson. Like, we always have to remember, it's that one line that pisses me off about the movie, is him saying, "Are you the one with the hammer?" Because it right there establishes he's fought Thor. So now a scenario where Ant-Man can take him on and not beat him, but get in some good licks, just doesn't make sense to me. But the weird part is the portal's open. Like, he had kicked Scott's shit in. Like, he won. He had defeated Scott. All he had to do was jump through the portal, fight Cassie, Wasp, and the old people, which he could have done very easily, but for some reason he decided to start monologuing, which is how everyone on the other side knew Scott was in danger, and it's how Wasp came back through to help fight Kang, and then they do the 2v1 and he's defeated that way. I thought that was like, it was weirdly out of character for a guy this whole movie who has been so adamant of like, I need my stuff because I'm gonna go jump through that portal and I'm gonna go wreck the world. When given the chance to jump through the portal and go wreck the world, he doesn't take it. So the setup for his downfall, I think, is good. It's the actual downfall that doesn't work. And if by some chance he's still alive, which I have a theory he's still alive somewhere out there, if he's still alive, it will kind of retroactively undo these issues. But as it stands, what I saw on the screen was Ant-Man and Wasp wipe the floor with Kang the Conqueror, and he died. That's how the movie laid it out. Of course, I'm gonna kind of take issue with that because this is supposed to be the big shit Kang. This is supposed to be the one everyone's scared of. This is supposed to be the person Janet was petrified of, and it felt like he went out too easily. I think what would have helped make it better, actually, is if Ant-Man had to make a sacrifice. And I think this is one of my biggest issues with the movie, is really that Scott does not have any arc at all. I want to talk about this so bad in the regular review, but it was so difficult because getting into specifics on Scott Lang's arc spoils a lot of the movie. So I tried my hardest, but I knew, I was like, this is the reason I'm making a spoiler review, is talk about Scott Lang in this movie. He starts out the movie, he writes the book, Look Out for the Little Guy. He's kind of got an ego now. Like, he's listening to his own books, like he's so proud of himself. And Cassie's the one who says, the reason I'm doing everything I'm doing is because you're not. And so right there we set up a great arc for Scott and Cassie. Cassie's arc, exceptional. I will be the first to say that. I don't think, a lot of people aren't talking about this, and I don't know if I'm like in the minority here. I thought Cassie was so incredibly fleshed out, and she was a great character by the end of this movie. I really want to see more of her. But they never followed through on Scott's arc. He says he only wants to go in for Cassie. He says he's only doing this for Cassie. Everything he's doing for Cassie. Obviously he works with Kang for the sake of, Cassie being okay. But then all these things that happen where Kang is getting more powerful and more powerful, he's closer to winning. There's a point in the movie where I'm like, okay, so now obviously what Scott's gonna do is he's gonna come back to help the freedom fighters overthrow Kang. and look out for the little guy. He's the superhero. They need someone. But instead they give the little guy spiel to Cassie, and they have Scott come back just for Cassie. He strolls up to Chronopolis, yells, "Kang, we had a deal," and then goes to get Cassie. Sorry, I'm getting stuff on my phone here. People are blowing up my phone. And so from start to finish of this movie, Scott isn't looking out for the little guy. He only cares about Cassie. That never changes throughout this movie, including at the end when he beats Kang and he just walks back through the portal and it's all fine, and he had no character change at all. I think one thing that would have been really cool, if they wanted to end it the way they ended it, where Scott gets to come back through, it only works if he had an arc that earns this. Cassie should not have been the one to give the speech. Cassie should have told her dad that he needs to give the speech. I know Cassie was in the tower. I don't care. Rewrite it so that way we can get Scott in the tower. And Scott has to give the speech. Cassie says, "You gotta do it. Look out for the little guy." Directly quotes his own book to him. Scott then gives the speech, which inspires the people to go fight Kang. That's the piece that was missing, is that Scott's goal in this movie, his motive in this movie, it never changes, but the movie thinks it does. And to really hit it home, I think Scott needed to die. Watching the movie, no, he didn't need to die. But if you look at the trailer, they set up that Scott needs to die so well. And this is why I say that the trailer actually sets up a better movie than the one we got. Because the Quantumania that's advertised is not the Quantumania I saw in theaters. The Quantumania that was advertised was a movie where Kang offers Scott the years he missed with Cassie, because he missed a bunch of her life because he was in jail, and he missed a bunch of her life because he was stuck in the quantum realm. And Kang obviously can give that back if Scott does something for him. So it was set up to be a selfish decision that Scott Lang makes for his own benefit. The trailer alludes so much to that fact. So then I'm watching the trailer. I made a video on it in order to learn from his mistakes, because he has now willingly helped Kang and is gonna wreak havoc on the multiverse because of something he did. That in order to save the day and learn the lesson, Scott has to sacrifice himself and not get that time with Cassie. That he either needs to die or be stuck in the quantum realm. And this is why I hated the ending. And I actually cut a large chunk of my review out because I realized I got dangerously close to just saying, Scott's okay at the very end, and he just goes back to Earth and Kang's dead. I almost got dangerously close to alluding to that, so I had to cut out a big chunk of it when I was talking about the ending in the review, but it felt like it was cop-out after cop-out. You know, they're in the Citadel. Everyone gets through. Scott pushes Cassie through and then has to fight Kang and be the final stand so Kang doesn't get through the portal. And I'm like, he is going to literally go till the last second, close the portal from the quantum realm, break the device so they can't get to him, and him and Kang will have a fight to the death and Ant-Man will have to die. Like, that's totally how the trailer was setting it up. That's how I thought it would have to go down. That doesn't happen. And then Wasp comes through. Also, his helmet broke way too quick. I feel like they did not give that moment the oh shit it needed. Like, it just happened. But then Wasp comes through. And she fights him, and they're both fighting. And the moment she came through, I was like, so Scott's gonna live. But then the portal shuts. And then I get happy, because I'm like, not only is Scott stuck down here, Hope is stuck down here also, so both of them are gone. We've lost two of our heroes. But then, no, Cassie just gets their signal and brings them back. And then the status quo is the exact same. But get it, end of the movie. Once again, Scott's still popular, and he's still living for Cassie. And everyone's just happy-go-lucky. The only difference is he has a bit of a doubt that maybe they didn't defeat Kang. But I'm like, where's the consequence? Where's the stakes? Where's the consequences of what happened in this story? There are none. It was such a cop-out ending. I am convinced there's an ending in this movie where Scott dies or gets stuck in the quantum realm. The Freedom Fighters. I've been mentioning the Rebellion a bunch in this. It's the Rebellion versus the Empire. Tale as old as time. It's Star Wars. It's a Star Wars movie with Rick and Morty characters in it. So I gotta talk about the Freedom Fighters. I don't know with the Freedom Fighters. Because I think on one hand, I really love that concept. I love the concept of people in here that are oppressed by Kang and are like, all right, we need to fight back, but we can't. And then the Ant team gives them the motivation to, or more specifically, Cassie does. But they weren't handled right. One, we don't really see the effects Kang is having on them. Sure, we see Kang attack a couple times, but those attacks are all based off, I need the ant people. Not that they're just giving these people a hard time. Like, sure, we see them being little shits every once in a while, but we don't see the full effects. Like, they're sitting there, they're like, there's a conqueror, he's oppressing us, our lives suck, and I'm watching, I'm like, y'all look like you're chilling. Like, you got the Mos Eisley Cantina, you're living nice, you're having a good time. Broccoli Head looks chill. Like, where's the... Explain to me how Kang is ruining your life, because as far as I'm concerned, he's just chilling in his citadel. So I never really understood the desire to want to kill Kang. Janet tells us a lot about it. Janora tells us a lot about it. Is that her name? I feel like her name is Janora. Unless I've been saying the wrong thing this entire time. But why stop now? So, when they fight back, yeah, it's cool, but it's just a bunch of faceless CGI armies I don't care about at all because the movie did not properly set up why this war is so important. Like, I know why Kang versus Ant-Man's important, but what do the people care? Their universe isn't at stake. And Quays, what a waste. He does nothing in this movie. He reads the mind of a guy I thought was a robot. Guess that guy wasn't a robot. And then he just telepathically says stuff, and that's it. Like, we don't get to see him kick ass. I didn't think they say his name in the movie. Like, he does nothing. And, like, so that's William Jackson Harper's Marvel role. And it was wasted on a guy whose name I wouldn't even know if I didn't make a video saying that he might be Quasar. I really gotta stop theorizing. I suck at it. And Veb. Where the hell do I start with Veb? I did not like this character, yet he had the greatest setup and payoff in the movie. I don't know why we had to waste like 3 or 4 scenes on a character made of goo who is obsessed with holes people have. Like, it's not... What am I watching? Every time he's on screen, I was just so confused as to what I'm watching. Like, why is this important in my movie about Kang the Conqueror trying to destroy the multiverse? Like, this doesn't have to do with anything. It's not relevant at all. Besides that they thought it'd be a funny joke, but it's not. It's not funny. There is no character in this movie that is as hot a topic as MODOK. I unashamedly loved MODOK in this movie. He did what I needed him to do. Was he a great character? No. Was he like his comic counterpart? No. Does he look awful? Yeah. But, I mean, I had such fun with him, and I'm kind of fine with the changes they made to him that I can tolerate it. I still think there are much better ways to handle MODOK, but I'm not bummed that this is the way they did it. It's not like someone with Taskmaster, where I finished the movie and I'm like, of all the ways to do it, they did the worst one. I'm not like that with MODOK. Like, if this is MCU MODOK, awesome. I'm fine with him. Except the way he goes out. His death was the most abrupt and unearned thing in this movie, which I think is what makes part of Kang's defeat so upsetting to me, is that he's foiled by an out-of-nowhere redeemed MODOK instead of one that was built up. Because the moment he said, "What am I supposed to be?" I was like, oh, he's gonna fight Kang. And one of the best lines in the movie, no matter how stupid it is, no matter how stupid the scene is, the line when he says, "My name is Darren, and I'm not a dick." I was in tears. I don't care who you are, that's funny. But it's just that he goes through not even a redemption. He's just all of a sudden good now. Like, he's like, "We're not done fighting." Cassie says, "Stop." He's like, "Well, I don't know what to do." And she says, "Don't be a dick." And then all of a sudden, he's given his life. He's an Avenger. He's fighting Kang, or he thinks he's an Avenger. He's fighting Kang. It's not how redemptions work. It was so incredibly unearned. It could have very much been that he was just sick of being oppressed by Kang, and Cassie brings that to light. I mean, Kang is literally bullying him. He's beating him up. He's silencing him. He's throwing him out of the room for pissing him off. He's using MODOK as his personal weapon so he doesn't have to go do it. Like, I am about to make a comparison to a movie right now. I cannot believe I'm comparing a movie to this movie. But I'm about to compare Quantumania to Transformers Dark of the Moon. Because somehow Dark of the Moon does this better. In Dark of the Moon, the reason Megatron betrays Sentinel isn't because someone's just like, hey, stop being an asshat. It's because she says, you are Megatron. Like, you are a big friggin' deal. How many people look up to you and respect you and fear you, and now you're listening to this guy?
Any minute now, you'll be nothing but Sentinel's bitch.
Like, they could have done that with MODOK, of where Cassie says something like, you were on top of the world. Like, you were inheriting Hank's company. You were developing your own suit so you could go change the world and change warfare and completely change everything. And now you're getting kicked around by this guy. And that would have been reason enough for MODOK to be like, I am better than Kang. I am beyond this. And his sacrifice would have worked then if that happened. But instead, it's just, fine, I guess I won't be a dick anymore. Why not? And then he just decides he's not going to be a bad guy anymore. And that's the laziest and worst possible way to write a character's redemption arc. So that's my issue with MODOK. But as it stands, all the other issues people have with MODOK, I understand them, I acknowledge them, I'm not going to argue with you on them. Last thing I want to talk about before I touch on the post-credit scenes is actually some of my favorite parts of the movie, because I did not hate this movie by any means. I enjoyed it, but the scene when they're first going into the quantum realm, awesome. I love the way that Wasp sees her parents, grabs them, and like goes through before they would have gotten crushed, and she shrinks down, and that whole scene's awesome. I think the 1v1 with Kang is awesome. That's raw as hell. Of course, Ant-Man using a building as a shield. I love it. Bill Murray's scene I also think is really cool. There's a lot of really good scenes in there. It's just all stuck in the middle of so many not great scenes that could easily be fixed. I think that's what's so frustrating about this movie, is that this is the easiest one to fix looking at it. Like, this isn't like movies like Love and Thunder where it needs a complete overhaul to be better. This is a movie where the script has so many great ideas, they just didn't tap into all the potential of it. And with just a few little changes, this movie would be, I think, really good. I think that's what's so frustrating about it, is you can see where they could have changed it. So there's great stuff. Like I said, Bill Murray, awesome. I think that's a cool scene too that touches on the lengths people will go to survive. That Bill Murray was like, I wasn't going to win this fight. I joined him. Why not? Like, that's the stuff that's cool. That's the stuff I like when this movie touches on, is some of those aspects. My all-time favorite scene in this movie is the heist. That I thought was going to be a larger chunk of the movie than it is. It was only a few minutes long. This movie feels very episodic. Like, it feels a lot like several episodes of television. It was written by a Rick and Morty writer. But it feels like that's like event with a transition in the middle. That's what the heist is. The heist is an event with two transitions to segue it from the previous scene and into the next scene. But I thought it was awesome. And the coolest part of it is the use of other Ant-Men and kind of how Scott and Hope overcome the probability storm. Because Scott is falling. You know, the Ant-Men they're not really working together on this. They're kind of a hot mess, and he's falling, and as he gets pulled through the pile back down to the ground, he says Cassie, and it triggers all of them through their common goal, and he beats the hex. Or, not the hex, he beats the probability storm, where now they're all united in one front. It was supposed to be every different scenario of what Scott could do is its own Ant-Man. So it's an infinitely multiplying number of Ant-Men. But Scott and Hope, through their bond and their unity and their desire to get Cassie and finish this mission, overcomes the probability storm. And it might be the coolest shot in the movie, where it's a wide shot and you see a mountain of Scott Langs, and you see a mountain of Wasps coming down, and it just all shrinks back into our main Ant-Man and the Wasp. That was an incredible scene. Last thing I want to touch on, very briefly, the post-credit scenes. It's funny, I put them in my notes as the good, the bad, and the Loki. So, I don't like the first one. The first one bothers me because, one, it says the Kang that we just spent this whole movie loving has died, and now I guess the next Kang's going to be a different Kang, so they're going to have to work on building up that Kang again, and it's like, we've done this with 2 different Kangs now. Can we please just have a main Kang? But I guess not. But it's the issue that the Council of Kangs, they seem silly. They seem very silly, and none of them feel threatening or badass like they should. The main 3, they didn't compel me. They didn't seem badass. And then the whole council of them, they were just screaming, crying man babies. Like, where's the intimidation that the other 2 had? Even He Who Remains was intimidating. And he was the chill one. So, like, I'm seeing all these weird-looking Kangs, and I'm like, this is who the Avengers have to fight. Like, I could just have Doctor Strange pull up, or have Wanda pull up right now. Hit you all with a beam and it's done. Like, the saga's over. Like, where's the fear that both previous Kangs have had? Doesn't very much excite me for the Kang dynasty. The second post-credit scene, on the other hand, now this is good. Because you have Victor Timely giving his spiel, and you cut, he's a Kang variant, and you cut to the audience. And Loki is petrified. And Mobius says he doesn't look that bad, and Loki said he is, and he's terrified. And remember, yes, this is a Loki that didn't fight Thanos, but it's the same guy, and he saw the moment happening. He's a guy who did not fear under Thanos. He was not afraid. Like, if he was afraid, he didn't show his fear, but he did not hesitate to try to 1v1 Thanos. Whereas he looks at Kang, one who doesn't even look that intimidating, one who doesn't even look that powerful, and he's petrified. That's awesome. And that hypes me up more than the first one, which is the one that was supposed to get me. I loved the second post-credit scene. But there you guys go. That's all I had to talk about spoiler-wise for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Let me know your thoughts on the movie, as well as my review. Anything I missed, anything you missed that I informed you of, or anything I missed that you guys picked up on that you can tell me. Let me know anything down in the comments below. Feel free to do spoilers. Also, leave a like on this video, subscribe, click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from the MCU HQ. That's going to be it. Have a great day, guys.